talking about Rand.
Oh, Parks and Rec. Yeah. EAB. Sure. Yeah. When I'm not this.
Everybody good? We got everybody?
Yep.
All right. Good. All right.
Oh, you mic'd up.
Councilman Moore got to go second with the mic check. So we're gonna. I think we're good this time. The IT team. Thanks for Casey. Thanks for helping us out. We got mics on the side over here, both sides. Thank you all for being here. I'm getting acclimated 6 months in, and I don't know, maybe this is my fourth one of these. And it's really great to get to hear your questions, and it's been really fulfilling to get to do this for 6 months, learning a lot, as well as thanks to so many folks up here getting a lot of things accomplished. So happy to take your questions. If you do want to ask a question, Casey over there give you a wave. So you got speaker forms over there, and we'll make sure that we get to those and certainly be able to give you updates. But I'm here in Councilman Moore's district, so pass it over to him.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, thanks everybody for being here this evening. And actually, we districted this out of 4, so we're trespassing on District 6 this evening. It's hard to keep track of these maps, but yeah, so grateful to Councilman Patton for hosting us this evening. We want to give a shout out. We got Commissioner Bender in the room, so if we're not able to answer all your questions, he can back clean up there at the end. You can catch.
He's got a larger budget.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly right. So this is the first time I've been at a meeting in this facility where I got to face the water. Most of the time we've been the other way, and I feel like that's when I'm talking to my kids and the TV's on. I'm like, they're like kind of side-eyeing the other way, like I don't think anyone's listening to me. It's hard to compete with that incredible view. So I'll try to stay focused tonight on speakers. So yeah, thanks for sure for giving spending your Tuesday evening with us, coming out to share any feedback you have, thoughts, questions, and we'll be able to hopefully provide any updates for things you're looking for tonight. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, and just to mention Councilman Moore, who certainly is a veteran of city government, much farther along than I am, has certainly been a great help to me. I've learned a lot from him, and not that he or any of the other 7 we agree on everything all the time, but he's been amazing to deal with, and certainly an awesome representative of District 4. So very much appreciated. So
got my vote again for next time.
Well, it's 3.5 years from now. I got to keep reminding you. So first, what we'd like to do, I know there's some things that are affecting District 4 that we just want to kind of jump into, and we'll allow our staff to first give introductions. We'll start down here, and then after that, we'll jump into a couple quick updates, and then again, happy to take your questions. So. We just want to introduce the team.
Well, hello, I'm Greg Harding. I'm the Assistant Planning and Zoning Division Manager and in part representing Development Services tonight.
Thank you. I'm Cynthia Cannon. I'm the Planning and Zoning Division Manager, also representing Development Services today.
Thank you. I'm Fred Crenshaw, Director of Sanitation.
Amy Tudor, Public Works and Facilities Director.
Good evening, David Forte. I serve as one of the 2 deputy city administrators.
Garrett Fiddler, City Administrator.
Good evening, Aaron Randall, Police Chief.
Good evening, Jenny Craner, Fire Chief.
Lisa Dees, your Constituent Services and Parking Management Director.
Erica Grant-Cagnolo, Economic Development Director.
Marcy Whitaker, Housing Director.
Tanya Bird, Assistant Parks and Recreation Director.
All right, thank you all, and thank you guys so much for being here. Before we jump in, I'd love to give some District 4 related updates. Amy Tudor, I'll start with you just on a couple of the stormwater and sidewalk updates that we have for District 4.
Sure, we have a lot of exciting things going on in the district coming up here this year and next year. First off, want to discuss Marketplace Pond over there on the corner of Marketplace/Summit and 12th. That was a project that was identified that could help with relief with some flooding in the area. And so we have it already designed to add more capacity to that pond. So what we're going to be doing is letting that here this month with the hopes that we'll get a good contractor on board and a reasonable price. And then we'll slated for construction in the fall of 2023. The other stormwater project that we have going on within this district is East Tahar Drive drainage improvements. Right now we're undergoing some drainage analysis looking at the contributing flow areas to that location, specifically between 9th Avenue and 12th Avenue on Tahar. We're going to get the plans together. That is slated for completion at the end of 2023, so we'll have the plan set by the end of 2023, and then we will anticipate starting construction in early 2024 with completion at the end of summer of 2024. In terms of sidewalk projects, we've got 3 different sidewalk projects going on within the area. The first is along McClellan. This is one that's going to help with the Cordova Park Elementary School and providing sidewalks in that area along McClellan, down to Hallmark Drive, and then up on the north side of Hallmark Drive down to Tronjo. The construction, we already have actually, I think we got the bids today. So it actually can't announce who. Yeah, it came in under budget, so we're excited about that one. So that should start here in the next couple months, so in the fall, with completion by the winter time. The next sidewalk project that we have is actually along Firestone Boulevard. New sidewalk on the east side where the sidewalk will be, and it'll provide connectivity between Summit Boulevard and Bayview Boulevard. Construction is going to be commencing in July and with completion in the fall of this year. And then we have some sort of the fill in the gaps and other missing sidewalk projects along the O.J. Sims Elementary School area. Specifically, we'll be doing some new sidewalks to be installed along Tahar, Cortez Drive, Mallory Drive, and 34th Street. And so we expect the construction to commence around fall of 2023 with completion somewhere around early 2024. So those are 5 big projects that we have in the area that's coming this year and then early next year.
All right, awesome, thank you. And then again, before, do we have anything come in yet? No questions out there? I mean, this is going to be the easiest town hall ever. So make sure you get your questions up there. Last updates we were going to give before those were with public safety. So just wanted to have Chief Craner and Chief Randall give you some updates.
From your fire department, we have a lot of opportunities for you to interact with our fire units, with your firefighters. You'll see them at EMT events all throughout the city. Whenever there's any kind of special event happening in the city, you'll see them. So feel free to walk up and introduce yourself. We provide blood pressure checks. We also have a car seat program. If you bring your car seat, if you have your grandkids or your kids and you need your car seat checked and want to make sure it's installed correctly, we have certified technicians that can do that. We also have a smoke alarm check and installation program where we will come to your house. Casey and Dominique over there have a sign-up board. We would love it if you would write your name down. We'd love to come check your smoke alarm or provide a free smoke alarm for you and install it. So please take advantage of some of our risk reduction programs, and we hope that we interact with you in that way. But if you need to see us for a medical emergency or a rescue or a fire, we certainly will be there. Some exciting news about the fire station that is the closest to your district, Station 3, is the door is repaired. And also Fire Engine 6, which is at 9th and McAllister, will be a new engine arriving, hopefully in July. The council funded that a few years ago, and it takes a while to build these fire engines, so we have a new engine coming. Also, I'd like to mention the hurricane season, knowing your home and knowing your zone and knowing your plan. Knowing your home is more than just knowing where you live. Knowing your home is knowing how your home is constructed. What is the roof, walls, windows, garage? Those are your weak areas. So would you need to find a place to shelter? And you can find out all of that information at cityofpensacola.com/be ready. And please feel free to reach out to us if we can do anything for you.
All right, good evening from your police department. I would just like to say thank you because District 4, you guys have been rocking it when it comes to public safety on the police side of the house. I get updates on a weekly basis where I get generated calls for service reports and a spot map. And this past week, there's like one thing on your spot map compared to the rest of the city. So you guys, I don't know what you're doing, but keep up the great work. We really appreciate it for helping with the crime numbers. But some of the other things from the police department that's very, very beneficial to the district and the city as a whole is our Citizen Police Academy. Last week, we graduated about 35 individuals from our Citizen Police Academy. This is an excellent opportunity to get a great engagement with the police department and learn behind the scenes all the things that goes on, not only from the patrol side of the house, but from dispatch and the professional staff as well, all the working mechanisms that make the engine of law enforcement work in our great city. Also, it's an opportunity to stay engaged with the department and the community as a whole. One of the things long-term that we're looking at is reinstituting our volunteer program. So this will be kind of a catalyst to the volunteer program that will be rolling out here soon, where you can stay engaged with the department as well. Also recently, last week, we graduated 13 police recruits from the local police academy. So we're excited about that. Those officers will be entering their field training starting next week and embarking on a 4-month journey in the first phase, or the next phase of their police training and police career. With it being summertime, the police department, we love to stay engaged with our youth because I think our youth is very, very important. That's our future. So one of the initiatives that we continue to do every year is our Fun Fridays. So every Friday, for most of the summer, we pick a community center in the city, and we visit that and spend a couple hours with the kids engaged in a lot of different activities. Last Friday was Fricker Center, and we have Woodland Heights coming up this Friday. The next thing, I'll talk a little bit about crime real briefly. The things that we can continue to help us on is vehicle burglaries, making sure you keeping valuables out in your vehicle. If you leave something in your vehicle, make sure you're secured in an appropriate location, either in your trunk, and also lock your doors. And also, the other part I always talk about is do not leave your key fobs in your car either, because especially if you have a second vehicle, a lot of times you have to spare a key fob in the other vehicle, and we've had an instance where individuals break into one vehicle and wind up getting a key fob to the next vehicle, which turns into a vehicle theft. So that's a very simple solution that will be able to help us mitigate that. And when we look back at the stats from the beginning of the year, you had 5 car burglaries in District 4. 5 is one too many, but that's still really, really good because the neighborhood is really getting out and taking heed of that. The last thing I'll talk about is another program that we're rolling out too is our crime prevention through environmental design. That's our CEPTED. We got a couple officers that are qualified in that aspect of it. What that does is an analysis of your property, your business, to be able to provide some recommendations on how to make your location, your home, and your business a lot safer, and what we call target hardening. The opportunities of reducing the opportunities of theft or any type of criminal activity at your business. But that's an update from the police department. There's a lot of things we're doing, but we really appreciate it. Nothing we do, we cannot do without any of you. So thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks, Chief. And we will have our speaker, our man David Mayo, come up and give us a question. And I just want to say before he gets started, after that, love for Erica to give you some updates on American Magic and on Amtrak, as well as Tanya with Parks and Rec with some of the park updates within District 4 and also the exciting news about the Escambia Children's Trust grant. So we'll give you some updates on that as well. But David, fire away.
Yes, David Mayo, lifelong East Hill resident, and just glad to have the opportunity to have all of you here. Last February, I was plowed over by a pickup truck on my hand cycle. So bike safety is a very much personal interest to me for sure. I was very encouraged when we had a town meeting at Vickery Community Center and hearing about the plans for hopefully a bike lane on Summit Boulevard. And so my first question is, I guess, a little bit of an update of where we are on that process, because I'm very hopeful. There's a lot of people very hopeful that we can make that summit into a road diet and make it a very safe, because it's a very active cycling area for sure. And then secondly, I'm really hopeful that Pensacola can strive to officially become a bicycle-friendly community as designated by the League of American Bicyclists. I think that designation will just send a great message that Pensacola truly is a healthy, active community. I think it'll be so attractive, not to mention the health benefits and the safety from having a bicycle-friendly community status. So that's my point.
You want to talk about that?
Yeah, sure. Is that on? All right.
Yep.
So, part of that study was that there would be a study of the numbers, kind of the empirical what is, and then the second phase was to after that traffic study was done, then to have a public engagement session to take the pulse, if you will, of the stakeholders in that area. So we're through those first two checkpoints, and I think we're moving into the third phase, which there'll be another, I guess, some design elements, and maybe Ms. Tootle could speak specifically to those things, but there'll be a third or a second public engagement session to maybe get more specific with where things go in that regard. And like what you said about the Bicycle Advisory Committee, that, a group that we had at the city is a good idea. I think it was put on pause a few years ago, so that rekindles my interest. So glad we have these meetings to have those kind of ideas brought back into the public light. I don't know if Ms. Tootle had any specifics about where we are on the.
Sure. You hit the nail on the head in terms of the timeline and where we're at. We are moving forward after the last workshop that we had at the Vickery Center. It was very well attended. And so we have taken the feedback from that particular workshop, and we've narrowed down the selection of the possible what the roadway could look like if we road diet it in the future. We have it down to 3 different options. So we're tentatively scheduled for a June 20th workshop at Vickery Center to be able to come back together with the citizens and have them provide their input again on the 3 options that we narrowed it down to. So we're looking forward to that. We invite everybody to come out and have that workshop and attend it, and be able to vote again and see where we go from there. I just want to stress that right now we don't have any funding moving forward beyond this, but this is part of the process, as Councilman Moore said, to be able to see if it was feasible and then get the public's feedback to see if we do and if we are going to proceed in the future. Because we might not. One of the options is a no build. So I think it's having that feedback from the citizens in the community is very important. So.
Thank you, Amy. And I would just say philosophically, I think it provides many benefits, not just the health benefit, not just the safety benefit, but the placemaking benefit, so we've talked about that in general. Just the walkability and bikeability of a community is what attracts people to a community. And so I would say philosophically, we always want to be intentional about looking at what those opportunities are. As you know, and as the Councilman Moore and our team that was there has shared, change causes anxiety as well. Sometimes when things have been the way that they've always been, and that it's a 4-lane divided road that may not be necessary based on what the data suggests, then change causes anxiety, and so those are all things that we're going to look at in every one of these opportunities. But what I would tell you is we're always going to be opportunistic about how we can keep folks safer. And what I'll tell you, I was fortunate enough, Secretary Perdue, who runs all of Florida Department of Transportation, was in town and at City Hall today. I had a meeting with him. And you could even see in the language, in the initiatives, in the work that FDOT is doing, how much more they recognize the walkability, safety, bikeability aspect of how their own design. And as you know, I believe they have 21 lights, I believe, in state roads. 21 intersections, and obviously state roads that you're all familiar with and that you ride on every day, like Garden Street, like Cervantes, are state roads. Sometimes that is another layer of complexity, but that's over the years, maybe the last 5-7 years, that the fact that even FDOT's tone is changing about As a matter of fact, one thing we're looking at is Sun Trail funding. There's a $200 million one-time injection, thanks to Senator Pasadomo, the president of the Florida Senate. And those $200 million of Sun Trail, which is meant to be multi-use path, not any dollar going towards the car, but to the pedestrian. We have a 2.2 mile unfunded portion that runs from the north end of the 3 Mile Bridge to Bayou Chico. It actually runs right down Main Street. And that's what the $200 million injection is for. Typically, there's only about an annual give of about 5 million-ish. I don't hold me to that, but somewhere. So you can see a one-time $200 million investment in trying to fund unfunded portions of the Sun Trail, of which we have one right now that may not be as bike and pedestrian safe as it needs to be, that's a great opportunity, and that's a conversation we have with them. FDOT is administering that. So just to give you an example, that maybe that would seem maybe odd a generation ago, but FDOT is taking a more active role in understanding that it's not just moving the car, it's moving the pedestrian. So we've had conversations about that, including hoping and fingers crossed, potential multi-million-dollar investments by FDOT to be able to help us do exactly that. All right, if you, Erica, if you can, sorry, pass that mic down. Erica Gran-Cagnolo is our, I would say new, not really, you're settling in, not really that new.
We can't say new for too much longer.
Exactly. Economic Development Director, she'll give you some updates on some of the bigger picture things going on.
Yes, all right. So the most exciting news in economic development in the City of Pensacola has to be that we have been awarded $12.5 million to construct the permanent headquarters for American Magic sailing team. For those of you who aren't familiar with American Magic, they are a professional sailing team that competes internationally for America's Cup. So they are in Barcelona right now preparing for the next America's Cup competition. But thanks to these 2 grant awards, we received $8.5 million from Triumph Gulf Coast and $3.5 million from the Governor's Job Growth Grant Fund to finish out Warehouse 10, which is that partially completed warehouse that you can see when you drive along Bayfront Parkway. We'll be finishing that out. We'll be making it look real nice so that for our visitors and for our residents alike, when you drive along the water there, you'll have a beautiful new facility to look at within the next about year and a half. When American Magic returns from Barcelona, hopefully as America's Cup winner, we'll have that beautiful facility ready for them to move into on a permanent basis. This project will create 170 high-wage jobs for the area. And just since the announcement of the grant awards, we've already been receiving international attention. This is really something that will set Pensacola, and that's already starting to set Pensacola, to help Pensacola stand out across the world, really, to host American Magic here. And as the mayor has said, this will make Pensacola potentially the sailing capital of the world. So, along with American Magic and the jobs that they'll be directly creating, we anticipate ancillary jobs and ancillary companies to locate here in the proximity of American Magic to support their efforts and to support other sailing efforts in the area. There are also, we're expecting tourism benefits in terms of sailing regattas and such. So this project will allow us to host those sailing regattas. And perhaps most exciting, if American Magic wins the America's Cup, that gives us the opportunity to potentially host a future America's Cup here in Pensacola. So these are some really big things and really big, exciting, positive events to help Pensacola really stand out. So that is surely the biggest news I think that we have to share. Another project that we've been working on, and since the mayor mentioned that I'm somewhat new to the position, my first day on the job, he said that my first assignment was to bring passenger rail back to the City of Pensacola. And I said, oh my goodness, that's a big task. So there's a lot of federal infrastructure dollars that are flowing down through different federal agencies right now. And there was a lot of money that was put aside for rail and for passenger rail specifically. So we quickly worked with some excellent partners such as the Southern Rail Commission. The mayor had already gathered tremendous support throughout Northwest Florida for this project. And so we worked together and we submitted an excellent grant application for the first step, for basically the feasibility study to return passenger rail to Northwest Florida. Through this process, we made some great friends. And, what I was told repeatedly, I hadn't shared this with the mayor, but what FDOT told me and what I heard from the Southern Rail Commission was that they always knew there was support here in the region, but they just needed a champion to carry it forward. And so that's something that the mayor has taken on. And I think that the rest of all of Northwest Florida will potentially benefit from that. We should hear the results of our grant application around August, September. If we don't make it this time, if we're not funded this time, there will be a subsequent round. And through these new relationships that we've developed, I think we'll have an even stronger application that we'd be able to put forward for the next round. So we're optimistic that we'll hear good news in September, but if not, we're going to go at it. We're going to go at it even stronger for the next round.
Thanks, Erica. And also, one kind of side benefit to all this conversation about passenger rail, one thing that came forward was actually building a relationship with the new owner of the rail that really starts just west of the train station here in Pensacola that now owns the rail from there all the way to Jacksonville. Is a company called Rail USA, and because we were looking for that support, we started having meetings and about that, and that was I believe the ownership changed hands relatively recently in the last couple of years, and I won't name any names, but typically rail companies are not the easiest to work with. They've got a lot of rules that allow them pretty much autonomy to decide whatever they want to decide. And they certainly have not been that way. That's been really encouraging, not only for the Amtrak grant, but we have one project we're working on currently. Still don't really have a timeline yet, but one of the most important parts is a potential pass-through, walk-through under the trestle so people aren't having to go under the graffiti bridge to be able to get to Bayfront Parkway. It's a project that actually began about 5 years ago and had got all the way down to design, all the way down to the point where a contractor was hired. Then the previous rail owner said, okay, well, that sounds good, but we're going to charge you $10,000 a day to inspect it. So with that, in other words, that meant we don't want you to do it. So we have now we're still working on timeline and how we're going to fund it and all those things, and we'll get that done. But the most important part is the new rail owner has agreed to do that for us. So now you have a way, if you're coming from here and you want to get to the 3 Mile Bridge, you now don't have to risk your life going out into a graffiti bridge coming around a bend. You would actually have a walk-through around that boardwalk, around the south side close to the bayou, and then be able to walk through much more safely. So more to come on that, on timeline and all that stuff. But that was a big step, and again, something that's a little bit of an outlier when it comes to working with rail companies. So very encouraged, not only on the Amtrak side, but how that's even been something that's been beneficial to us in the day-to-day pedestrian safety, bike safety situation as well. So anyway, Tanya, if you want to give us a couple updates on some of the parks in District 4 and then the Children's Trust grant.
Absolutely, Mayor. So first up, our Pintado Park construction, very much anticipated. Construction started on May 30th, and it's anticipated to be complete by June 21st, given weather. We are installing a new playground and a new sidewalk to the playground, as well as removing the water fountain, but we are keeping the dinosaurs.
That's right. We cannot let the dinosaurs go extinct again.
I think this is what Councilman Moore ran on, was the keeping this dinosaur, if I remember correct.
Yeah, I do not want to have to face the children of Pintado Park and let them know where their dino has gone. He needs to be there.
You won't have to worry about that. Right here at Bayview Park, we are about to embark on a stabilization project that's going to start basically by between the tennis courts and the parking lot, and help us take care of the erosion problems that we're having in the park here. Bid opening was last week, and we're about to put that forward to council to award that bid. Bayview to our boat ramps were finished right before Memorial Day weekend, so both boat ramps are available now, and both boat docks, I should say, are available now for use. And Roger Scott Tennis Center is coming right along. We are anticipating still opening those new courts up in winter 2023. Pools open Memorial Day weekend, and we have Hunter Pool open, even though the new bathhouse is not quite complete yet, but will be finished in a couple of weeks. And our summer camp started on May the 30th. We still have some room in some of our locations. However, all of our outdoor pursuits camps, they fill up in about 10 minutes from the time the registration opens, so those are all closed. But Jeremy back there in the back has promised me that he is going to help Paul do an adult outdoor camp. That's one of the biggest requests we get is the adults say, well, I want to do camp too. So that's be on the lookout for something like that coming sometime soon. And then, of course, our Ischemia Children's Trust grant, we took that to council about 2 weeks ago. We were awarded $1.6 million over 3 years to fund free after school in 4 locations across the city. So Woodland Heights, Cobb Resource Center, Gold Point Resource Center, and Fricker Resource Center will all have free after school and some enhanced programming with STEM programming and performing arts programming there as well.
All right, awesome, Tanya, thank you. Any, even if you haven't filled anything out, any other questions out there that you want to just hop on up?
I'm sure Goss has got something.
Yeah, come on up.
Hi, my name is Felipe. I'm with the ACO Neighborhood Association. One thing about Parks and Rec, we've been having a lot of requests and questions about pickleball. So just want to know if there's any plans, since I know that the tennis courts here are managed by another company, if there's any area where that's going to be developed or anything like that.
We are looking at restriping the tennis courts at Armstrong Park. And we did Hollis T. Williams tennis courts a few years ago, I believe. And there was one other location that we were looking at. Bayview tennis courts might be a possibility down the road, but I don't think that's in the immediate future.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And in addition, if you're a pickleball fan, you probably already know, we had Warehouse 4 at the port that will, we're just waiting to sign, I believe, on the dotted line for the lease for that to be 46,000 square feet, potentially, I believe, somewhere in the neighborhood of 17 pickleball courts, large enough to be able to host regional tournaments and things like that. So I know that's super exciting, not only for pickleball players, it'll be privately operated, member based, but also just to have 46,000 square feet of floor space. I believe, if I remember correct from our council meeting, that would give us twice the size of the largest indoor floor space we have, which is the Bay Center. So if you think about just purely from an exhibition standpoint, from a Pensacon standpoint, from a just having an indoor building facility of that size outside of pickleball, I think is a good amenity for us downtown, and will give us some additional economic development opportunity. So yeah, good question. Thank you. What else? Yeah, come on.
A lot of projects going on. What about the port? At what point do you anticipate moving the fences back? A lot of that becoming public property. I know we've heard about hotels and all of that kind of thing. It might be interesting to know. What about the connecting the bridge to certainly Bruce Beach? Where does that stand? Also, Bruce Beach, we live downtown, so we peek through the fence every once in a while and see a lot going on over there.
We've seen you on camera over there, yeah. I'm just kidding.
But also maybe the skate park. I know we had similar problems in Milton when I lived over there when they opened it up.
Yep.
I guess we didn't talk to those folks then, so
right.
Maybe an update on where that stands. So
sure.
A lot of things going on.
Absolutely. No, thank you. Amy, I'll let you start with Bruce Beach, kind of give us an update of where that is, and then I'll talk about the port and the skate park.
Sure. Bruce Beach Phase 1, which you see under construction right now, is moving along really well. They're blowing and going on that one. We expect to be complete on that one. I knew it was August 10th. So we'll say the end of August for sure. We'll be done. We have design plans for Phase 2 already complete, and we are going to get ready to get that and advertise that and put it out on the streets for another contractor or the same one, whomever shall bid on it. And hopefully we get that awarded here in the next couple months and get that one started by the end of the year. Club Street, which was right along and adjacent, that was a part of Phase 2, but we pulled it out to go ahead and get that done. and resurface Club Street because it was in terrible shape. So that one is complete along Club Street right there. There'll be some other additions along Club Street with parking under phase 2, but the main portion of the roadway is complete. So.
And just what's that?
I think he was asking about maybe the hashtag connecting Bruce Beach to the.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the pedestrian bridge. That you were talking about the actual tangible bridge that goes from Nick's Boathouse to Bruce Beach.
We've got that covered.
Oh, you see that? Okay.
I was wondering about the hashtag.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
Sure. So for that one, we have been moving along with that. What we had was the original consultant Scape has done a review evaluating whether our reduced design of hashtag still meets the intent of what the spirit of the project really was. So we're still going through that evaluation with them, but we do expect to move forward with hashtag here in the next couple months. What we had to do with hashtag with the original, from the original design was that there were some impediments within the right-of-way, being able to fully build out the way it was originally designed. But we are going to be having dedicated bike lanes along for the hashtag project with a buffer, whether it's hardened or a buffer zone, to allow for the transportation, of the bikes and the peds along in that area. So that will be moving forward, we anticipate, within the next couple months. In terms of bidding that out, sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
And then your question to the port, I think what you're alluding to is obviously the Moffitt-Nichols study that came out a couple of years ago had alluded to the idea of taking kind of the northeastern quadrant, call it, and putting that in front of the fence, the security fence, and figuring out what opportunities to have kind of a hybrid approach. Another thing that sometimes is misleading about port property is it's not just when you pass the fish house and go into the port. Actually, technically, some of the port property includes the ferry landing, some of the parking. So there is a hotel that's been that's had control of the property just south of the Holiday Inn right there. That technically is a port project, even though it's actually next to the old New World Landing over there on Cedar Street. So, but to what you're discussing about that northeastern part of the port, and really what Erica alluded to is, as things always evolve, I think one thing we're going to be looking at is what happens with American Magic, and what we think is, we believe that in that north part of the port, there's going to be a lot of interest. Not just believe, we've been actually had a phone call today in a meeting on Friday about. From robotics to research, all the advanced manufacturing they do with composite, which does not only translates in boats, but it translates in airplanes and in things like SpaceX, where those engineers are very much in demand. I think we're going to have quite a large amount of interest, especially once American Magic is in. Even already, it's anticipatory, but. About maybe having some of those again, as Erica mentioned, those synonymous researchers, manufacturers that will want to be there because American Magic is there. And so I think that still falls well within the Moffitt-Nichols study of what we should do at the port. But it might be that who those tenants are might even be modified a little bit based on getting American Magic. So I think we're still going right down that direction of how do we best utilize that north half of the port, and how do we best optimize it. Another wild card in this, as Erica mentioned, is what happens if American Magic wins the America's Cup. Their intent is to host it here, which would seriously, I know. Yeah, we're gonna have to start building things real quick. In these teams, just as an example, American Magic just moves 170 people and their families to Barcelona for a year and a half. So Howling for a year and a half, school for a year and a half. There's a lot that would go into that. The one previously was in Auckland, New Zealand. And actually what they did at their port was they would, let's call it this north half, they modified it for some kind of use because of the size of this event. But it was thought through with the idea that what's left would then be part of the long-term strategy of what the port is, not just like where you hear about the Olympics where you build a stadium that you don't really ever have any use for again. They did it in a very smart way where that became kind of the epicenter and was transformed. So at the end of the day, they're one of 7 teams that are racing. So that is not better than 50-50. That'll happen. Fingers crossed. I think that would be a great problem to have. But if that happens, that obviously would change a little bit of our tact on the way we would move forward, especially in the short term. So really, at the end of the day, I think those are both 2 good problems to have, and I still think we're going to have some intentionality about making sure that property is in a position to be invested in and not sit back and wait. Eric and I had conversations about that this week, and how would we best move forward, whether that's site prep, whether we start to inch forward with that, and we'll certainly be working with Clark at the port and Amy Miller and Eric and myself, and we'll be looking into that further. Skate park was your last question. Yeah, what we want to do is, we've got some rules that are posted that we can't necessarily enforce. We kind of have a second phased plan of how we're going to do that. We may extend I think the intent right now is to extend the hours to 10 p.m. We've got security cameras coming in. Those have been coming in for a while. That was not a reaction post-opening. But once we have those cameras in, we could have a scenario where we would turn those lights off or down after 10 p.m., as well as whether we have some kind of security presence there at closing time, just to make sure that at the end of the day, we want to post rules that we have the ability to enforce. We could look at a long-term operator, and not so much from a security aspect, but really the ability to accentuate the value of such a beautiful complex, in that whether it's lessons, whether it's summer camps, whether it's renting helmets, renting bikes, and then also having another set of eyes there, that could be a good thing. We're not committed to that, but that's something I think we're going to look into for the long term. So, at the end of the day, look, I like to put this in context. Our police phones are not ringing off the hook necessarily with problems that are happening at the skate park, but we do want to do our best in saying these are what the rules are and give clarity on what those are. So I just like to tell folks there's some parking issues we're dealing with. We have reprioritized some of our bathroom placements. We've looked at putting in some public bathrooms all over the area. We feel very positive about the potential of getting bathrooms at Veterans Memorial Park right now. We're waiting on the final budget from Governor DeSantis on that approval. But what I can tell you is we have now pivoted to getting bathrooms at the skate park as one of our top priorities moving ahead, given the fact that that's really something that probably needed to be there in the first place. But when you given the demand that is now there, certainly needs to be put in place and is a high priority as well. So, yeah, Brian, come on up. Seeing you all day today.
Yeah, several times. Mary, can you give us an update kind of on your transition plan, where you're at, some of the things that you've already kind of accomplished now, and some of the next priorities you're looking at working on?
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that. We have, at the 6-month mark, thanks to Alex and Casey, IT, Kareth, a lot of folks played a role. And after being part of the lead staff of Mayor Robinson's transition team, one of the big conversations we had at that time was, how do we make sure that we don't just have a report and that's the last time that you ever see it? It's okay if you don't accomplish everything. Things change, priorities change, the world changes. But our goal is to try to be as transparent and keep folks as apprised and communicate as well as we can. So we have posted an update on what we would call the 81 actionable transition recommendations. And I believe to date, or when they got posted 6 months at the 6-month mark, we had finished 8 of those, and I believe we have 38 in progress. And then there's a list of what those 10 kind of next priorities after that are. So that is out there on our city website. Casey can give me. I'll forget the exact URL after cityofpensacola.com, but it is posted at /performance. Yeah, okay, cityofpensacola.com/performance. And also, again, a huge kudos to several folks, several departments up here that also with that had started to put some dashboard items together, some metrics that show you what's happening at the police department, what's happening in some other departments. That's just some additional information outside of what you've seen, the mayor's transition report. But I mentioned it in the press conference today, and I have a couple times. understand I was the staff of the transition team 4 years ago, and now this is a transition report for me. And affordable housing wasn't on the one 4 years ago, not because we made a mistake. It wasn't nearly the crisis that we're in right now. So that over just a matter of 4 years, we didn't get one email of anyone saying, "Hey, why wasn't affordable housing one of the buckets that was considered here?" And certainly we would have, rightfully so, if it wasn't included in this transition report. So that's what I mean, where life changes and things change, and that'll happen not only every 4 years, but within this administration. So I've said that transition report really is a living document, and that we may say these are the 10 things we're working on. We never made a promise that we're going to get, including to our volunteer transit. Brian, you were on the team 4 years ago. It's we said, look, we want the experts in our community to guide us in this administration about what we believe the best steps are for the city of Pensacola. That was not a promise to get all 81 done in 4 years, but it really is that navigational tool that we wanted. And so I'm really proud of our team, as being in meetings and being able to give a little direction is one thing. The people up here are the ones that are executing and getting and closing loops and getting these things across the finish line. So it's any of those things that are accomplished or in progress isn't just a me thing. This is a we thing, and this is a lot of hard work that's happened from the folks up here and the folks in the back. So big thank you to them.
Thank you for the answer. Appreciate it.
All right. Any other groups? If anybody else would like to give any updates, feel free. If not, anybody else, David?
Take the opportunity. We've spoken a lot about projects. If you go on our website, thecityofpensacola.com, I appreciate the team. We have an actual interactive dashboard. We call our CIP, Capital Improvement Projects dashboard. So you can go on cityofpensacola.com, click, I think it's just click projects. That should on the very front, and it'll bring you to an interactive map where you actually can click on the dot of where that actual project is, and it pulls up a little window and tells you essentially, who the designer is, who the contractor is, when construction is starting, and when it's anticipated to be completed, some details around that. So that gets updated on a monthly basis, weekly to monthly basis, so it should be relatively up to date. That's a really neat feature that we have on our website. So it's maybe it's a few less emails sent to the mayor's office. You can go straight to the website and get an update on our various projects. I think we have, last I remember, I think I counted like 48 active construction projects in some shape or form to date. So that's just a little snapshot of where we're at with all of the projects and what we're doing here in the city of Pensacola. So have a fantastic team.
Yeah. And that's a chance to give a shout out to our grants team. Joelle and Kevin and everyone up here, that everyone plays a key role in that, but they are kicking butt. And we put this team in place because we knew that this would be an unprecedented time in our country and in our state of funding opportunity, and that continues right now. And I mean, we are in the midst of it right now, and so that was why that was one of the 8 things that has already happened on the transition team. And man, they not only have they done a great job and certainly paid for their department many times over in a matter of 6 months, but I mean, they are in there kicking butt on nights, on weekends. I mean, these things have hard deadlines, lots of technical aspects. I mean, grants aren't just filling out your name and your address. These are things that you've got to get schooled up and coached up on between our experts. And, you talk about the technical aspect of explaining rail. I'm glad I didn't fill it out. We had someone else fill it out. I don't know very much about operating a rail, but when you write a grant, you got to understand, have at least an amateur understanding of that. So I want to give a big shout out to Kevin and Joelle and our team who partners with them in each one of these projects. That I'm very, very proud. And I think we are punching well above our weight class in our ability to get these grants and where we stand with some of these grants moving forward. We're hoping to hear some good news. We have a visit from DEO on June 20th, an on-site visit for some of the projects that you mentioned for Hollis T. that have been mentioned for potential funding, CDBG funding for the Hollis T. Williams Stormwater and Greenway project. We put in a request for $36.4 million for that, $9.7 million for the port, and $5 million for Fricker Center, as well as 2 additional projects in another bucket of funding, which is the hometown or neighborhood revitalization grant, and that one is that we're looking at a potential demolition project partnership with Baptist Hospital property as one, and another as a Brownsville commercial residential housing revitalization project. And so of the 6 things we submitted, 5 have passed that first filter, and so they do on-site visits to learn a little bit more. So we should hear something back, fingers crossed, on the Hollis T. Williams Port Fricker bucket first, and then we'll move to the second one. But just I tell you that have to give you an update and have to think about how much work that probably was for so many folks on this team to get all of that information, all of that data that's required to make sure that we score in the best way that we can. So couldn't be more proud of everyone up here that has played a role in us being as opportunistic and as urgent as possible. I would stand behind, no matter where we land on those grants, no one has outworked us. I can tell you, our size of community, no one has outworked us in our ability to get these the funding sources. So, yeah, go ahead.
Would be good to allow maybe Cynthia or Rick
Yeah.
to update on land development code.
Sure, that'd be great.
Absolutely.
Yeah, anyone, fire away.
Yes, thank you. So we are also in the process of selecting a consultant on board to do a general assessment of our land development code. It's kind of a consortium of codes put together over time based on events and the needs of the community over a fairly long timeline. So it's been a while since this has been kind of looked at cohesively to see how we can make it more efficient for both our development community and then also just the layman that wants to look at our land development code and see how, what their neighborhood looks like and so forth. So that's happening now. We think that this first assessment will take about a year to have done. And then once we have those findings in place, those will be presented in both the planning board and city council public forum. And then hopefully from there we'll go to a next step, a much longer process at that point of actually updating the land development code to be more progressive, more user-friendly and so forth.
All right. Cynthia, thanks. All right. Well, since we got a little extra time, if you do have any other questions I know our folks will be around here for a couple more minutes. If you have any personal questions for them, individual. But if not, thank you guys so much. Thank you so much for all the support you give us out there, and we're really enjoying this opportunity to not only be here with you, but to help. We're at a great time, I believe, in the city of Pensacola. I really, really believe that things don't always go our way, and things aren't always perfect. But this is an amazing time to be here, and I know so many of you out there know that it's an amazing time to live here. And so we'll continue to work hard for you, and work our butts off, and thank you so much for being here.
If we gave a pop quiz on all those projects, how many think you could pass? All the things that are going on, yeah. I did want to say too, thanks to, he'll probably grumble at me later, but council staff, Don Creer, our council executive, for being here this evening. He's got a tough job too to keep 7 of us with all our unique personalities and somehow stay agnostic and take care of everything we need to get all of our items prepared and things. So I wanted to thank him for being here. And obviously all the staff people, all of our staff here, there's your staff, your team. So doing all the things that happens in the city, they've worked a full day and then come sit here in the night. It's a good team, as the mayor's pointed out here this evening. So working hard and working late this evening. So anyways, I wanted to sound that bell too.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Thank you.